Screen-Free Week is an international celebration. And we want to say celebration because we're emphasizing that it's not about shaming. It's not an obligatory, like, you're a bad person if you break your screen-free week fast. It's much more focusing on the positive things that we can do when we put screens away.
Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. I'm Hillary Wilkinson. Whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, let's learn some new healthy screen habits together. This is episode 4 of season 4 of the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. So, what if I were to tell you that next week you have the opportunity to live deeper, to be more present, have extra hours in your day? What if I told you by the end of next week you could feel less anxious, to connect with more clarity, and you could do it all for free? What is this magical thing that's happening? Well, today our guest is going to tell us all about it. Her name is Lucy Kidwell, and trust me, you want to pay attention to that name because she is a rising star in the digital wellness space and advocacy for families. She's a senior at Indiana University, Bloomington, but today is speaking to us from where she currently lives in the United Kingdom. The event is Screen-Free Week. This year, Screen-Free Week occurs next week, May 2nd through 8th. We have tips and resources and ways in which you can decide how you want to implement a little freedom from screens in your life. Whether it's a little or a lot, we're going to get into all of it. Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast, Lucy Kidwell.
Hi, Hillary. Thank you so much for that great introduction and for having me. So, like you said, I'm Lucy, and I'm at Indiana University, but currently living in England, and I'm the Screen-Free Week coordinator at Fair Play. So I'm just really excited to talk to you about the celebration, give some tips and background, and just talk about how I got involved in the whole space.
Well, I'd love to hear more. Lucy, you're this super great advocate for youth in the digital space because you're a Gen Zer yourself. And yeah, you have this experience of growing up with screens. And so I'd like to explore what brought you to digital wellness.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I obviously haven't always been involved in it. I started out in college really studying immigration law and human rights and kind of that side of things. But then during my junior year, I became involved as a mentor for 8th grade girls. And this just totally changed my perspective of kind of everything regarding my generation and the younger generations. So I'd be talking to them and I realized just how many more issues they seem to have than the people in my grades growing up. And I mean, we're only separated by a couple of years. A lot more self-image problems, anxiety, depression. And it was really shocking to me. I didn't expect it. They were from, seemed like great families and they're lovely people. And so I got to talking to them and they said, yeah, it's Instagram. And I said, what, like, why are you still on it if it's doing this to you? Just kind of confused about it. And I said, well, you have to be. Like, that's where everything is. You can't get off the screens or you're ostracized. You're kind of kicked out. And it got me thinking about all of this because, I grew up right on the cusp of when social media was becoming a big thing. Like I was 17 or 18 before I even looked at Instagram, which I'm very, very happy about now because it would have changed my childhood a lot. But so I started doing research and then I found Fair Play, which is this amazing organization designed to protect children online and kind of combat this commercialization of childhood that you see a lot that has to do with screens. And what happened is I kind of sent them a crazy email on accident, thinking no one would read it. They said, why are you signing up for the newsletter? And I kind of just let everything out. But then someone from Fair Play emailed me like the next day. I was so embarrassed that they actually read it, but I started a research internship with them and just everything happened from there. I became involved in the interfaith work group at the Action Network which basically looks at this from a spiritual perspective, multi-religious, and then finally Screen Free Week coordinator, which is just super fun. It's a great job.
Well, I'm grateful for that initial embarrassing email that you laid it all out because I think you are right where you're supposed to be. So,
I think so. I'm happy for it.
yay. So we've got a limited amount of time. Let's get right to it. So, can you explain what is Screen Free Week? I want to know, like, just tell me everything. How did it start? What's the mission? I mean, you're the lady to come to.
All right. Well, so thank you. So, Screen Free Week is an international celebration. And we want to say celebration because we're emphasizing that it's not about shaming. It's not an obligatory, like, you're a bad person if you break your Screen Free Week fast. It's much more focusing on the positive things that we can do when we put screens away. It's a time to be really intentional, to engage in time with your family and friends, and really do anything you want to do. So people, when they do it, they just take a break from digital entertainment. That is phones, social media, TV, and spend time reading in nature, volunteering, exercising, gardening, arts and crafts, picking up new hobbies. So lots of fun things you can do during Screen Free Week. It was originally started in 1994, actually,
Oh,
which,
wow. I had
yeah,
no
I
idea.
know. Well, back then it was actually called TV Turnoff Week. And it was championed by this organization called the Board of the Center for Screen Time Awareness that was just super into like TV and, television protection for kids. But then Fair Play took it over in 2010, where it became much more about other forms of digital entertainment, video games, phones, screens, things like that. And it's an awesome celebration. The pandemic did mess things up a little bit. We had to change a lot of things. In-person celebrations couldn't really happen. But in 2019, which was the last kind of normal year, I guess you could say, over 150,000 people around the world participated. We got so many of their stories, and it was just really cool to see.
That's awesome. I love that you have like some numbers to back it up too. So
Yeah.
we have to take a break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask Lucy for tips to help me and you to implement our own screen free times next week.
At what age should I give my child a smartphone? How much screen time should I allow each day? What are the best filters to use on my family's devices? Sound familiar? These questions and more are answered at the Healthy Screen Habits website. We've curated the best articles, books, videos, and many other resources to help you figure out how you want to use technology in your life. Click on the awareness section to learn about the issues and dangers surrounding screen use. Then click on the tools page to download printables you can use with your family today, including the Healthy Screen Habits Family Technology Plan. Visit our website at www.healthyscreenhabits.org for the resources and tools you need to get started.
Today, we're talking about Screen Free Week, the campaign hosted by Fair Play. So, Fair Play is the leading nonprofit organization committed to helping children thrive in an increasingly commercialized, screen-obsessed culture, and it's the only organization dedicated to ending marketing to children. So since 2000, Fair Play has worked to provide lasting change, and Screen Free Week is one of the ways it does this. Screen Free Week starts May 2nd this year and goes through the 8th. Lucy Kidwell is with us today and is the coordinator. She's going to hold our hands and get us started successfully on this path. So, Lucy, I have to confess, I have you here for 100% selfish reasons, which I needed to have you here and talk to me because I don't know where to start. I want to set my family up for success in pulling off our definition of Screen Free Week, which honestly for my family will mean hours outside of work and school because we don't have enough vacation days built up to go full bore no screens. But I don't know, like how do I get started?
Getting started with screen-free week. Well, I think the first thing that I would say, and maybe the most important tip of all when it comes to screen-free week, is do not let perfection like be the enemy of just good effort, because you have to do it however feels right for you. I feel like a lot of people have this idea of screen-free week as like, okay, if you touch, this phone, it's over. You failed screen-free week and you get a bad black star and you can't do anything. Like, no, 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 no. There really aren't any consequences. And I think the most important thing is to just try, is to do the best you can and realize that, hey, I might mess up. I might on Tuesday check my phone 3 times and it's not going to be a big deal. So I think giving yourself some grace is kind of the first attitude to enter into it with, because you want it to be fun. You want it to be a time of like realization, saying that my life could be a little bit different. My life could be better in these areas. And I think also realizing how challenging something like this is a really great start. I feel like, at least when I do things like this, I always have the idea that it's going to immediately be like rainbows and puppies, and I can put everything away and there won't be any angst, but there's always angst. And so just like trying your best. For some families, that looks like, hey, we have to use screens for homework for the kids. And so we're going to make it 4 p.m. to bedtime, no screens. Or, we have certain aspects of our lives that we can't really get around. And that's okay. You don't want people to look at that and say, well, I can't go screen free, so I'm not going to do it at all. I think do it as much as you can is my first big tip.
Great. Are there any online resources that you have?
Yeah, so Screen Free Week has a variety of great online resources, mostly geared towards the whole family. So we have this organizer's kit for people that want to bring Screen Free Week into schools, just providing kind of the fact sheet, the why are we doing this, how to do community events and such. But then also really fun family activities like a bingo card, that challenge for families where people can cross off, activities, trying to get a screen-free bingo, things like taking a nature hike or reading a book, lists of ways to build forts and sort of idea inspiration, outdoor fun, printable pledge cards, things that make it really hands-on, because kids, especially little kids, they would really like a screen-free week certificate. And maybe it'd be cool for them to print out something and cut out, I pledge to be screen-free. Why? It's cute. And then finally, when it comes to resources, just language for contacting schools, spreading on social media, even submitting proclamation requests to the government. But that's more on us. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, I like that that we can start with that. I think a good place to start with the introduction of this idea is starting with that pledge. So I like how it kind of gets people of the mindset. It readies people. So maybe that's something that I could do. Like, so the website is screenfree.org. And if you go on that website, that's where we can download all of these tools, correct?
Right. And you can also put in the pledge information. So it just asks for your first and last name, the organization that you might be a part of, how many people are participating. So you could put yourself, you could put your family. And then if you want to add a why, you can put that in there too. And it's a little bit of accountability. I think it can be very helpful.
Right.
And
I think it helps set the mindset for the coming week. It's kind of the prep of getting ready for, okay, we're going to try this year. This is what we're going to do. What do we think we can pledge to do, and gets people ready.
Definitely. I think that's so important, because there's just this great sense of you being a part of something big. It is a movement. And it's amazing to know that so many people around the world, every continent except for Antarctica, actually, we're working on that one. But just like knowing that is really amazing, and it gives you a lot of encouragement. And just, I could list off hundreds of tiny practical tips. But it is really going to look different for each family.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that kind of speaks to our philosophy at Healthy Screen Habits, where we want to educate and empower families to choose their own healthiest screen habits, because this is not, in this digital world, it is not a one size fits all. It's a one size fits one. But in order to figure out kind of which size fits, you need to try on a lot of things. So this is one of the tools that we can do that with.
Yeah, for sure. And, I know for me, when I'm trying to cut down my screen time, there are a variety of little things I do. You kind of have to treat it really practically sometimes, because I feel like we can get into this mindset of, oh, I have this great ideal and I'm going to follow this. But like, it really comes down to little preparations that you make for yourself. For example, when I'm trying to not get on my phone, it's really important for me to just keep it out of the room, just keep it out of sight. Because if I look at it, if I check one notification, even if it's an email, it's over. Like I'm not going to get off of it. And then also, I think before Screen Free Week, there are some preparations you can make, such as letting people know that you're doing this. I mean, if you have family and friends that you want to contact you, it might be good to say like, hey, I'm not going to be available for these hours. Or if you have a landline, say, could you call me at this number instead? Which might make things easier. And then, think of things like recipes, print out the recipes before, print out appointment reminders, print out like directions to places, all those little things that could suck you back into your phone. It may sound simple and obvious, but I think those help me a lot.
Well, yeah. And as you're going down this list, I'm realizing how I don't think of myself as being a tech dense person. But as you're saying all of those things, I'm realizing, oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would have to do all of those things, especially the directions, because I am I am lost in my own backyard. So I would have to definitely pre-think. I am going to need to pre-think if I'm traveling any, distance. I'll need to figure out where I'm going before I get headed.
Oh yeah. I mean, we use it for everything. So
mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I'm feeling prepped. I am going to visit the screenfree.org website to get the pledge ready and start getting a little bit organized this week. I feel like the big issue for me personally will be staying off of social media once I do the school drop off. It's a habit I feel like I continually have to address because it's so easy for me. I drop off and then I come home and my car's so warm and cozy and I just sit in the garage and think I'll do one or two things and 20 minutes go by. So it's amazing what pockets of time I think can be freed up. So, but I do think that for the success of Screen Free Week is going to be a lot like setting up for a successful week of healthy eating, where if we prep and plan, it'll be easier to adhere to. Do you have specific things you're going to be doing during your Screen Free time next week?
Yeah, I do. This is kind of strange, but I'm going to be hiking through Spain. I'm very lucky to be in Europe right now. Yeah, I know. And it's my break. I have a big, long break. And so I'm actually doing what's called the Camino De Santiago, which is this 30-day long pilgrimage through Spain. And I'm going with some friends and we're going to be walking a lot, like 15, 20 miles a day. So not much time for screens, but a lot of time for boredom. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited about it though.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe if I planned to walk through Spain, maybe I'd
I know.
I think that's a good tip there.
Yeah, it's really accessible to everyone. Now it's very easy to implement in your own life. I really recommend it. As Screen Free Week coordinator, go to Spain.
Yes. And she's not even funded by the, España Tourism Board.
I know.
Okay, we have to take a short break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask Lucy Kidwell for her healthy screen habit. We love what we do, and we wouldn't be able to do it without the generous donations provided by our listeners and followers. We want to extend special thanks to the Doctor's Pity for their unwavering support of the podcast and organization. If you'd like to make a difference and contribute to the education and empowerment of families, please go to healthyscreenhabits.org, find the Take Action tab, and scroll down and click the Donate button. 100% of your donation will be used to spread awareness and bring families the tools they need to develop healthy screen habits. My guest today is Lucy Kidwell from Fair Play, who is teaching us all how to have a successful screen-free week next week. Lucy, you have already given us so many tips, but I'm going to ask you for one more. And that is, on every episode of the Healthy Screen Habits podcast, I ask each guest for a healthy screen habit. So this is a tip or takeaway that our listeners can put into practice in their own home. Do you have one you can share with us?
Yeah, I do. I've said this before, not on this podcast, but to like everyone I meet. I think it's really important to not just remove screens, but to replace them. It's like if you see a little baby and they're playing with something really dangerous, you don't just yank it out of the baby's hand and let the baby just cry for hours and just ignore the baby. You replace it with something soft and pleasant and, good for children. And so that's kind of how like I treat myself. Like I very much look at myself as a baby when it comes to screens because I have no self-control. So I'll say like, I'm not only going to ban my phone for this week, I'm going to get 4 new books that I've really wanted to read for a while. I'm going to schedule, hangouts with my favorite friends. I'm basically going to fill my schedule with really positive, enriching experiences that will make it easier. But because if I'm just sitting in my room without, a great book or a new hobby or a fun class to take, I'm going to get on my phone. Like you have to be realistic with yourself. And so I think just replacing, not just removing, but making sure to focus on the good and what you can get out of it is probably the most essential screen habit I could give anyone.
I like that. And it also kind of is in step with your idea of Screen-Free Week being really a celebration. It's really more positive. I think if we can frame things in this, not this subtractive type thing, but in a positive thing, it's, it's additive as far as all the positive things that it's bringing to you.
Right. Language really matters, especially talking to it with children. You want to get excited about it and get into that headspace.
Yeah. So if you would like more information on Screen-Free Week and want to avail yourself to all of the amazing tools that Lucy's been speaking about regarding the pledge, the plans, et cetera, please pop over to screenfree.org. As always, I will link all of the information in the show notes, which you can find by going to healthyscreenhabits.org. Find the podcast drop-down menu and look for episode 4 of season 4. I will have it ready and waiting for you. Lucy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you for having me. This has been so fun.
Yes, and happy Screen-Free Week. And, drink lots of water on your hike and maybe pack some Band-Aids in case of, moleskin and Band-Aids in case of blisters.
All right. Thanks for that advice. Will do.